Welcome to Going Underground, a podcast by YourCalling.co.uk. My name is Graham Smith, Editor-in-Chief of Your Calling. In this episode, co-host Miles Salter takes a hot seat as he chats with 90s hip-hop star Betty Boo. She's preparing to embark on a celebration of her classic albums, including a whole date. Here's Miles to explain more.
35 years ago, in the summer of 1990, dance music was taking over the world. Bands like the Stone Roses and Happy Mondays rubbed shoulders with dance acts like Salt and Pepper and De La Soul to see who could have the fattest grooves and toe-tappingest tunes. One of the heroines of that memorable summer joins us on the York Calling podcast to talk about hits, misses, and being an inspiration to the Spice Girls. Over the years, she's worked with Public Enemy and Blur's Alex James, to name but two. She's written for other acts including the Tweenies and Sophie Ellis-Bextor. She also wrote the huge hit Pure and Simple for Hearsay. The song would go on to win an Ivor Novello Award for biggest selling single of 2001. This summer, she's off on her first ever tour and her albums are being re-released. So let's give a huge York Calling welcome to the one and only Alison Clarkson, better known as Betty Boo. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You're off on your first tour. What took you so long?
Well, I'm celebrating 35 years of Boo Mania, which is my first album, and grower is Betty Boo, and I'm reissuing those albums on vinyl, cassettes, and CDs. So I just thought it'd be a great time to reconnect with everybody and people that love my music back in the day, and all the newbies have discovered my music recently. So so that's why I'm doing it, and I can't wait to do it. It's kind of crazy, really, that I haven't done it before.
Yeah. Well, but was there a reason why it didn't happen before, or is it just something that's you just never got around to?
There's a bit of that. I think also, well, when I came out in 1990, I was making music. I did loads of PAs up and down the country because my music was crossover dance, pop. So I was doing all these, clubs and in New York and Europe and up and down the country. So that was the version of touring, I suppose, but not, and also I wasn't really managed. If I was coming out today as a new artist, I'd be micromanaged and sent off to do all sorts of things. Everything would be, there's a map these days for this sort of thing. So, but, in the back of my mind, I thought I might do it one day. It just took me a long time, that's all.
Let's talk about your early days. You've got a slightly unusual background. Your mum was Scottish and your dad
Mm,
was from Malaysia. It's
mm.
an unusual mixture. What was it like growing up in that kind of environment?
Um, well, I grew up in Shepherd's Bush, West London, which was a melting pot of, loads of cultures, and there weren't that many people that were half Malaysian, half Scottish. That's for sure. I was only one of one where I was growing up, but um, it was, everyone was a little bit different anyway. So um, it was great growing up then. But I did get bullied a little bit, I have to say, because nobody could put me into a little box, and or I didn't really fit in. I was a bit of
Oh,
I don't want to get the violins up, but
you
yeah.
kind of non-conformist, or was there a reason why they were giving you a hard time?
Probably because I don't know, I had different interests. I enjoyed doing music at school, and that was supposed to be quite geeky, I guess. And I went to a horrible all-girls school. Girls can be nasty.
Yeah,
Uh,
they
and I,
really can. They really can. Yeah.
they used to wait for me at the top of my alleyway and say that they were going to kill me. But it's just, I think it's toughened me up over the years. So,
Did you fight back?
uh, yeah, I did. I remember really, I've had enough of it, and I did fight back a couple of times, and I realized it didn't hurt that much. So, but this was the 80s, it's like, I know it carries on, it's still happening now, but I couldn't tell anybody, and I used to be quite scared to walk to school sometimes, but it was definitely the way I channeled my energy into doing something extraordinary. I think that's probably, looking back, that's probably how what motivated me to try and or do something that was find my identity basically. And I found my identity through my music and being an artist. So some good came out of it somehow.
Were your family supportive of your interest in music?
Yeah, my dad actually was the one who got me into music. He loved playing the guitar, and he bought me all my records and my record players and things like that. Took me to guitar lessons, and um, my mum not so much, but not really. I can't say they supported me as such. The 80s it was a difficult time, growing up in the city. It was
Mm.
there was a lot of unrest in terms of nobody, if you're from a working class background, you just didn't, our teachers were on strike all the time in my school. So, you turn up for lessons and the teachers didn't turn up. Um, it was really bad. I think Ofsted, I think they voted it the worst school in the UK once. So it was really bad.
Really?
And
Oh,
it got burnt down as well. So
no.
yeah. And then
Was it
they renamed it Phoenix because
from the actors?
yeah.
That wasn't you with a box of matches, was it?
Oh no, 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 I wouldn't do anything like that.
No, I did some research on you, and I was really pleasantly surprised to find out that one of the bands you love was the Police. Um,
Yeah.
because I think I'm a similar age to you. I grew up in the 80s listening to music, and I
Mm.
I absolutely love the Police. Fantastic band.
Yeah.
What did you like about them?
Well, I love Sting, but I love the fact that I love the fact that it had a kind of a reggae-ish kind of feel to it. And I loved reggae and ska as well growing up. So they kind of fitted into that kind of sort of music that I liked as a sort of 10-year-old, 11-year-old. And I got my dad to buy me the Zenyatta Mondata album, which I loved. And Sting was just awesome. And when Don't Stand So Close to Me came out, it was like everyone loved Sting and wished he was a teacher at our school. I think in the video they're like smoking and all sorts of things in the classroom.
Well, that's what the song's about, isn't it? It's about a teacher and a younger pupil, isn't it?
It is, but I don't think it's as close to the mark as that. I think there's some irony in there somehow. I don't think it's a straightforward song about that.
There's a very memorable line where he rhymes cough with Nabokov, which is
Clever
kind of a
clogs.
kind of a terrible rhyme, but he gets away with it.
Yeah, well, I like that. You can make up that's the thing with rap as well. You can make up your own rhymes. You can make them fit the way you want them to.
Were you rapping in your bedroom when you were 16?
Yeah, well, 15 actually, I'd say. When I discovered hip hop, I love rap music. I love the culture. I love the fashion. I just really sort of found something that I loved. Like it was my identity, and my friends were, a few other girls were into rap, so we used to dress up and try and be like Salt and Pepper. And
Yeah. Well, I mentioned them in the introduction. Did you
yeah,
get to meet them later on, Salt and Pepper?
I haven't met them. No, I haven't. I would have loved to have met them, but they were a true inspiration for me. Um, and they really did sort of pave the way for female rap and everything, with their songs and their attitude and their sassiness and everything. And but their lyrics were, I found them really cheeky. The sort of Hot Fishes and Cool album was very. I think that's the right way around. It was very. I played it to death, and I just loved the way they play with words.
So the big hit, Betty Boo doing the do, 1990. It was kind of that song was everywhere for a while. What was it like to be at the center of that uh, kind of big moment. That must have been a exciting but rather strange, I suppose.
Yeah, well, if, considering it started off in my, I basically had a little studio set up in my bedroom at home when I was living at home with my mum, and all my songs came out of there, really. I wrote them in my bedroom, just locked myself away. Well, I just had a hit with Hey DJ, I Can't Dance to That with the Beatmasters. I was a featured artist. So from that, I used the royalties to buy a load of equipment, samplers, and a 4-track machine. Actually, I think it might have been an 8-track machine, keyboard, microphone, and the sampler was the key thing because I was able to loop beats and really have some fun playing around and rapping, and hearing yourself back was so important. Such a buzz, and creating something that I just to be able to find my sound. It was just everything to me. So considering it started off in my bedroom and then hearing it on the radio, um, and hearing it on in EastEnders in the cafe, which was always the sound. That was a sign that you've made it.
Yeah, that must have been really exciting when it was on EastEnders. Fantastic. Apparently, you went on this morning with Richard and Judy, and you had a big entourage with you. And Judy Finnegan said, "Get them out of here."
Yeah, she did. Well, I don't blame her actually. We were probably young and awesome, really seeing ourselves. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, when it was on the docks then, and they didn't have many changing rooms. I think there was just one room, and it had Judy in there, and there's a little cook woman that was on there. Can't remember her name. I think she's passed away now. But we must have been really loud and you know a bit sort of diva-ish perhaps. I don't know, but she didn't like the idea. Anyway, Richard came and found me and said, "Oh, I really apologise for Judy." It was very sweet of him.
Is it true that you inspired the Spice Girls?
Apparently so. I spoke well, I've worked with this guy called Chris Herbert, who actually auditioned the Spice Girls. Well, he discovered them, he put them together, but he put an advert in, I think, Stage magazine or something like that, saying, "I'm looking for 5 Betty Boos" or something like that. Well, he told me that's what he did, so I'll take his word for it. But they ended up going to Simon Fuller, and they didn't use him in the end. But um, yeah, so he told me, and that's yeah. I mean, I could see the influences definitely, and they
Yeah,
did rather well, didn't
I
they?
was looking at some of your videos this morning, and I could see that kind of there's a sort of cheekiness and a sort of I don't know how to put it really, but yeah, cheeky. There's a cheeky kind of vibe, and I can see that they might have sparred off that, I think.
Yeah. Well, they did very nicely, which I'm really happy about, which is good.
Um, you're the image behind you with the leopard print thing that you
Mhm.
had. That was
Mm.
quite a strong image. Where did that come from? Did you like it or not?
Uh, I do. Well, I create, help create all the images that I had. So it was inspired by a poster that I saw in a Belgian restaurant, Mussels place that used to be in Camden, Camden High Street or something. It was called Belgo, and it had a poster that was very similar. And I thought, oh, that would be an amazing something like that. So we worked on it, and I've always loved leopard print and tiger print as well. So, oh, animal print generally, just like it. So.
Uh, you wrote a fantastic song for Hearsay called "Pure and Simple." I think it was one of the biggest selling songs of that year. How did that come about? And I guess you're pretty proud of that track.
Yeah, I think actually it was the biggest selling song of that year and of all time at that point, actually, which is really remarkable. And I think it was just the power of telly. Um, it beat Candle in the Wind, Elton John, and all sorts of things. So yeah, it was amazing. Bit of a bonus actually, because it wasn't a song that I completely forgot about, and it managed to find its way onto Pop Stars, which is the first sort of one of those programs where they auditioned, or a talent show basically, for Pop Stars. Uh, yeah, so it was yeah, it was an amazing surprise. And Ivor Novello Award is probably considered to be the most prestigious award you can get for in music, basically. So
Yeah.
it's an honor.
It's a great song. It really stands up. It really holds its own. I think it's really good. Okay,
Thank you.
final question because we're running out of time. Um, you've said you've said before that you're quite a shy person. Do you still feel that shyness when you're doing like public performances and stuff like that?
Um, I'm really shy personally, but if I'm performing as because Betty Boo's like an alter ego, and it's the same when I'm writing my songs. I it's another person. It's so I'm able to just perform without just thinking about it. It's a bit like being an actor. You're up on stage and you're not really thinking about you're thinking about the character you're in, um, and not thinking about the fact that you might have left the washing in the washing machine when you left the house, or or you know when you got to pick some milk up on the way back home.
Well,
So
Freddie Mercury was very shy, and he was the same. It was almost like he was putting on a different persona or putting on a different disguise somehow, you know.
yeah, it is, and I like that. I think it makes things a bit more larger than life, a bit more exciting, um, and it helps you overcome your nerves because that way you've got this kind of barrier. And yeah, no, so I am. I mean, you could probably tell I'm quite shy, really. I just sometimes. Um, it's funny seeing yourself back as well. This is the phenomenon of a Zoom is like it's a bit, normally if you're just talking to someone, you're not really thinking about looking at yourself.
Well, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you very much for giving your time to us. The
Oh,
gig
thank
in Hull is 21st of June at the Social, and the albums are being re-released this summer, including Gur and
you. Mania,
Romania, of course.
and that's why the tour is. I'm doing the tour because It's celebrating 35 years, and I didn't think I'd ever, you know, 35 years later, still doing the do and doing this whole thing. So
Phenomenal.
it's a privilege.
You have been listening to Going Underground by yourcalling.co.uk, presented by Miles Salter and produced by Graham Smith. If you want to know more about music and culture in York and beyond, head to your podcast platform of choice to hear more episodes of Going Underground and our sister podcast, The 5 Albums You'll Hear in Heaven. Until next time, be well and happy listening.